Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and a Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Here we go, listeners. We back. Unfortunately, missing the Mike, my Pasho. He is his job's giving him the business a little bit. Got called in and has to actually go into work now 3 times a week, which he's not happy about. But we miss you, Pasho. But we are season 5, episode 17 with Linda Sutton, coming from Austin, Texas. And if you are new to this podcast, first of all, thanks for tuning in and giving us a shot. Somehow, I don't know how, but we've been listened to now in over 111 countries and over 1,000 cities. So thank you if you're a regular listener, and if you're new again, welcome. But this podcast is part of a nonprofit, and the nonprofit's called C4 Leaders, and we utilize the pizza making process to create space for our companions to be seen, heard, and loved. We also write children's books, and then we do like team building and leadership development with businesses, sports teams, schools, churches, all over the place, using handmade, hand-tossed sourdough pizza to bring out the best in each other. So if you're interested in checking us out or supporting us in that space, just go to pizzadays.org. So here we go. First place you can find our guest is through her website, and it's lindasutton.com is one of them, and Linda D, and it's LINDADSUTTON.com. And then she also has another podcast and all kind of TV stuff that she does, and it's the TangoShow.com, and she's going to give me the business a little bit, but it's and then 22, which I messed up on off the air, TangoShow.com, and it's 2 to Tango. Love it. So about our guest, Linda Sutton is an international performing artist, inspirational speaker, instructor, and world dance expert with a unique ability to translate relationship dynamics through the lens and practice of tango. She's a host and executive producer of the award-winning television show, The 2 to Tango Show with Linda Sutton, which has aired for over 12 years in multiple markets, including Roku and Amazon Fire TV. One of Linda's gifts is in helping her clients, viewers, and listeners create harmony, synergy, and passion in their relationships using the secrets of Argentine Tango. In tango, a couple must get in step within seconds in order to have a successful dance, all through nonverbal communication. Linda guides couples in the use of strategies and tactics to create beautiful dance, resulting in harmony on and off the dance floor. Linda, thanks for sharing your many gifts and talents all over the world, for guiding couples in achieving life harmony through dance, and for being our guest on Life's Essential Ingredients. Welcome to the show.
Oh, wow. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction, and thank you for having me. It's going to take me a moment not to be mesmerized by your voice, but yes, thank you so much, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I get that frequently. But and it's funny, I don't hear, obviously, myself, and I shouldn't say this, but I don't listen back to the shows that often. But thank you. And I'm mesmerized with your beautiful smile. And listeners, if you not many people know, but we do have this does come out on YouTube. Most people listen in just through Spotify or Amazon or Apple or whatever it is. But make sure you check this out, because Linda's got a smile that just takes up the whole screen, and definitely radiates and can tell you have a beautiful spirit. But we always start each episode with a thought of the day. And it's a quote that I pick after researching you. And this one's from Gandhi.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it's: happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Why would I pick that one for you?
Oh, that's beautiful, because, wow, and couldn't be more perfect. because that's the heart and spirit of what I do and who I am. So the work that I do and it's what we intend to bring out to the world is an alignment of mind, body, and spirit to create harmony in all the areas of our lives. And once we achieve that level of harmony, as Gandhi is aspiring us to do, we will achieve happiness, joy, and of course, my favorite, love.
Mm, mm. Already. And Linda, just so you know, when I have my head down like this, I'm taking notes. This show we started right before, or I guess right early COVID, and we wanted to just help one person. Let's just do what we can, use our nonprofit, and 100% that one person is always me. And so I'm always taking notes, and I get one ingredient that I add to my life recipe every episode, which is why I love doing this. But already I can just feel that you're going to go deep, and it's really cool. I'm going to try to not say too much, but in researching you, we're doing the same thing in such a different way. We're using pizza, you're using, the tango. And so I'm so excited to learn from you and to see the parallels in what we do. And I love just, happiness, joy, and love, and at the end of the day, and I'm sure you're not aware, but my profession for 33 years was a nurse. And when you work as a nurse, and almost half my career was in a level 1 trauma center, working in the trauma ICU. So taking care of the sickest of the sick, you really want to try and rush to moments when you're in that space to create happiness, joy, and love, even through the darkest times. And so that's what I try. I'm retired now, and that's what I try and do and focus my energies on through our nonprofit. But this can be a great episode. Hey, let's get in. I like the listeners just to kind of get to know you, when you were growing up, and you can take that any which way you want. But what was life like growing up?
Oh my gosh. Woo. Okay, we're taking it back.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 5 children. And so I spent a lot of time taking care of children and supporting my mom and my parents in that process as they went through their own life journey. I would say the 2 things that stand out the most that people might find of interest is I was a voracious reader as a child. So even in the midst of kind of having to grow up fast and take care of my siblings, I was a voracious reader, and that has shaped how I view the world, being able to consuming so much information. And I mean, hundreds of books at a time. So that definitely has shaped not only the way that I see the world, but bringing so many different varied viewpoints and perspectives and ways of seeing the world and disseminating knowledge to who I am today. And then I was clumsy. So I was a tomboy and clumsy. So, when people say they think I came out of the womb dancing, I'm like, nothing could be further from the truth than that. And so, I love bringing people into this world and using these tools because they were new to me as well. And so, I always tell people, your story is my story. And so we can go on this journey and this dance together.
I love it. I got to ask you, did you use your reading as like an escape at all? You think, to allow you to take some of the pressure off? I'm sure being the oldest, I have 8 brothers and sisters, including me,
gosh.
And my sister Margie was the oldest, and was always, having to look after everybody and kind of take care of everybody and be kind of that second mom. And I wonder if you used your reading as like a my time of let me give myself this gift. And then it's really kind of transform your life. And like you said, allow you to see such a worldview, a world perspective.
Probably. Yes, I would escape. Possibly, in terms of it was a good balance. It allowed me to be a
Yeah.
child at the same time that I was being definitely a second mom. But the other piece of it is because I got exposed to so many different things. I mean, literally, the neighbors would drop paper bags full of books during the summer onto the porch, and whether it was National Geographic or books I probably shouldn't have been reading. It made me want to get out and explore the world. I was like, oh, there's so much to see out there. And I think my family dynamic at that time, they had a more narrow worldview, even though grew up in New York. They kind of had a box that made sense to them. But this made me want to see and touch and experience all these different cultures and ways of being around the world. So yes, it did shape that. A little bit of escape, a little bit of journeying in the mind first.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love. In escape, maybe you're interpreting the way that I'm using that word in the wrong sense of just like, hey, let me just go somewhere else, in my mind to appreciate and just see things again from your words, a different perspective. So when did you get to first travel then after reading all these books? It sounds like you were learning about the world. When did you finally take that jump and hey, I got to go out and see the world now?
As soon as I graduated from college, I grabbed my passport and I was gone.
Where was the first place? What was the top on the list?
Oh my gosh. That's a good question. I would have to go back in my mind. I know I went to Mexico and I went to Israel, were some of my first trips. And and then from there on and on. And then, of course, I discovered Argentina. So I went to Africa, I went to South America. I've danced on 5 continents. So yeah, I took it on.
Wow. All right. Well, hey, this show is called Life's Essential Ingredients, and you've kind of talked about a few of them already, but let's just bring it to today, for you and in this time in your life. What are those essential ingredients that, you're producing shows, you're dancing all over the world, you're coaching couples, and you're living, you got a lot going on. How do you make sense of it all? And, I'm specifically asking, what are those ingredients? And then, how would a listener maybe incorporate one or two of them into their life?
Life is about relationships. Every interaction that we have with every person, plants, animals, it's all about relationships and building healthy, productive, and constructive relationships. I think in this new era of social media and a lot of technology, I think we have started to, in some ways, miss the importance of real human to human relationship and contact, and that we are literally designed for that. Like, we are human beings and human bodies, and we're designed to interact and engage in certain ways the most efficiently. I think some of the breakdowns in that is because we have not prioritized that the core of economies, businesses even require good relationships with your customers, with your employees. And so if you take that one essential ingredient is do your part to build healthy, constructive relationships. Doesn't mean you'll always get along with everybody. It definitely doesn't mean you'll see the world in the same way, which actually is important that you don't. That variety is important to help you kind of grow and be well-rounded. But to do your part to build relationships. And of course, I start with couples because I think that's the fundamental unit in the society. We all come out of a couple in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So let's start there.
I love it. Yeah. And I love, this might sound a little weird, but I love the simplicity of your focus, and not that there's anything simple about being in a productive, healthy relationship, but I love how you've really narrowed your focus into that space, and then giving your clients and the people that you serve the nutrients, so to say, to create that harmony and balance and to allow that relationship to blossom and flourish. Yeah, very, very cool. So you talked about being clumsy, growing up, and I'm sure if we were able to watch you dance, we'd just be in awe. So when did you fall in love with dance, and how did you say, you know what, hey, I love this, and I'm going to just work through this clumsiness, knowing that I'm going to get better, and what were some of the lessons that you took, if you can think back to that time, and maybe even let the listeners know when that was, because I think that's part of the challenges, in a different way. I'm trying to learn to play the guitar, and I'm crazy clumsy, and my ideation is not there, and I'm in that stage right now of like, I need that somebody to give me a little, and that somebody has to be me, but I also need to reach out to somebody to give me a little bit of guidance to work through that clumsiness, so then I can appreciate what it is that I'm trying to do. And obviously you've mastered that because you're teaching people all over the world. But let's explore what I was just asking you.
I would say the spark for wanting to dance, or even envisioning that, that was something that a little girl would want to do. And I don't think I'm too far away from a lot of people who may have saw something like martial arts or dance when they were little and was like, ooh, I'd love to do that. But I think the anchor, if I were to remember back, it is somebody gave me a music box. And when you opened it up, it had a little ballerina in it. And it had this beautiful, beautiful music. It was the Moonlight Sonata, I learned later. And it was such a magical music for me. And of course, the little, ballerinas turning around, except mine was bent. And I think that kind of was foretelling. The spring was bent. And so she was really, really wobbly. And I think that was me. So, of course, my family could not afford lessons at that time. They were extremely expensive. Growing up in a large family, resources were very tight. So when I got to college, actually recovering from a car accident, they recommended I take dance to cross train. And since I had a physical education requirement, I took ballet. I took my first ballet class. But ballet in college is apparently not beginner ballet. They said it was beginner ballet, but it was not beginner ballet. Everybody there had been dancing for years. And my teacher said some things that were very discouraging because I was kind of messing up her beautiful picture in her mind of how her class should be. And I think out of that planted the seed and the determination, because honestly, I actually didn't care that I wasn't good. I did not care that I didn't know and I looked crazy. I was so excited to finally be living one of my dreams. I had always wanted to take a dance class, and I was so excited that even though she was not being encouraging, nothing she could say could discourage me from the fact that I was finally wearing my quote unquote tutu. And I think that excitement for just being there in the same space, the worst dancer in the room, my fellow students, I think were inspired by that. And they helped me and they encouraged me and supported me even against my instructor. And I wound up getting an A, I believe an A or A minus out of that class. But it was just, that excitement. Like, wow, I finally get to be a ballerina. Oh my gosh. Yay, yay. Nothing she could say could discourage me.
So where did that come from? That essential ingredient where you weren't going to get discouraged, because I think, especially now, and I don't know how old you are, but I think that discouragement is rampant, all over the world, and not just through social media, but I think we allow, people to walk into our mental space that have no business being there, and we allow them to enter that and to use that, the most powerful tool ever, that tool of discouragement. And obviously you were not having any of that. And I know you were saying that this was something that you dreamed about forever. And maybe that was it. Maybe that was powerful enough, which is huge. But do you think it came from somewhere else as well?
I think the fact that my music box ballerina was already wobbly and bent, I think that kind of set my expectations. Like I love the music in the box, even though it wasn't a perfect ballerina. And I think something in that allowed me to have in my mind that I didn't have to be perfect to be inspiring and beautiful as a dancer, because that was a prized possession of mine for many years. And so once I finally stepped into that space, wobbly and all, I was still inspired. And, the interesting thing about not being the best didn't discourage me, getting it wrong, not knowing. I was excited to be around others who were so good. And I was like, if I could just learn one thing from them, then I'll be a better dancer tomorrow than I was today. And that was enough for me.
I love it. I gotta ask, do you still have the music box?
I don't. It got burnt in the house fire, but yes, but that's okay. It's in my heart and body, and I am the living embodiment of that. So like a Disney film where you have the little inanimate object becomes alive.
Yeah.
I am now that ballerina, if you will.
Man. I love it. I love it. So you started with ballet, and what led you to specifically be like, the tango is my thing?
Well, years later, I became a professor of dance. And I was studying, I was teaching at two different universities in North Carolina and was studying the African roots of dance. My specialty was African dances throughout the diaspora, throughout the world. And I was studying the African roots of Argentine Tango. And in exploring that dance, usually when I am, doing my cultural research, I not only know the culture, the language, but I also study the dance as well. And it was one of the few dances that required all of me. Not that the other dances didn't, but because not only did it require all of me, but it required me to bring all of me to my partner. I've quickly found that it was more than a dance, and I like to say it became a spiritual practice. And so I was like, whoa, this is way more going on here than just some sexy dance. And it I did a deep dive, and it took over my life. And within a couple of weeks, I went to Argentina, and that's all she wrote.
And what year was that?
Oh, let's not say Roman numerals. We had to pull out the abacus and look back at the Roman numerals.
Come on.
A long time ago.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But I got goosebumps, when you were saying it required all of me.
Yes.
And there's so much to explore with those words, because I think it's hard to get into that space again of all of me. I think we're pulled in so many directions, which is probably your fascination and just now your expertise in what is one of the many, I'm sure, draws of people coming to work with you and exploring your Argentine, tango, because they get to experience that, and I'm sure you're so familiar with flow state, in which any performer, speaker, athlete, dancer, professor, whoever, anybody, but getting into that state, which is all of me, is not the best words to use, but the best drug that you could take in and just be like, oh man, time kind of stops, even though you've been dancing all night, probably 6, 7, 8 hours, but you're not tired. Your feet are fresh. Your heart is full, and you're just moving and grooving. How do you help? Am I hitting that right?
Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
You hit it so on the nail. And drug, even though it usually has a negative connotation, we lovingly call each other tango addicts. So you're right on point in terms of the energy and the um, hormones and your biochemical response, if you will. Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Welcome to our world.
Yeah, yeah. And then speaking of hormones, we'll go there. Oxytocin is the trust hormone that when we're first born, why they put the newborn on the mother's chest, just so they can get that bond. But I just I want to go back in your intro because it really stood out to me. In tango, a couple must get in step within seconds in order to have a successful dance, all through nonverbal communication. And me not knowing anything about tango, to me, it just speaks to trust. I mean, you got to, one, trust yourself, I'm guessing, and then two, really trust your partner, all within seconds. Otherwise you're just not going to have that harmony. But yeah, tell the listeners the importance of trust and dance and how you apply that to life and couples, relationships and so on and so forth.
Well, first of all, since you just gave them the first lesson, you can co-teach with me here.
Let me interrupt you before you answer that. I wish my wife was in on this episode. I'm 6'8".
Mm-hmm.
I got big feet. My feet are numb. I have this, I'm not going to get into, but I have this disease process where my feet are numb, so I don't feel them a whole bunch. Mm-hmm. My rhythm is not bad, but I'm like the worst dancer that there is. And my wife loves to dance. So if we come out, like I was telling you off air, to visit our friends in Austin that we just married, we're definitely going to hit you up, and maybe we bring them and my wife and I come out for a lesson and go out to dinner and have a good time.
Absolutely.
But you would be cracking up because my wife can get down. She could dance. Usually I'll kind of just stand around and kind of groove, and she'll dance around me, and everybody's like, oh man, she can really go. But all right, let's get back into it.
Well, you mentioned, and if I may say in passing, some of the things that you brought up as concerns, your height, you're not feeling comfortable with your body and moving, your feet. I actually wind up writing a book recently called So You Think You Can't Dance, because those are the types of things that people come to me and say immediately. They would like, I would love to explore, but my partner is better than me, or I'm clumsy, or I have no rhythm. And so I wrote that book to address that, just like all the things that we say to ourselves, the myths and lies that we say to ourselves that keep us from moving freely. And so I work with couples. Let's go back to the trust thing. And I think you got it. The reason that this works so well and it resonates with people is because the issues of trust, connection, being in alignment, being in step with one another, those kind of elements that you have to work through in order to learn the steps, you quickly realize, even in the class, the aha moments is like, oh my gosh, like this is what it's going to take for me and my partner to work, especially as the leader. Both leader and follower get their own lessons, but I love to watch the aha moments of the leaders when they go, oh, this is what my role is in the relationship. I'm not here to be the boss of her. I'm here to guide and to provide support and connect with her and listen to her and provide enough energy to move us as a couple. So there's these things that they're learning, and trust is the biggest one, because when there is not trust, there is resistance. And you see that in the dance. So just keep in mind very quickly, visually, the woman has to walk backwards in heels in tango. So she's putting herself in a very vulnerable, unnatural, in a lot of ways, position to be in the dance. And so because she's walking backwards in heels in a way that's unnatural to the way she normally moves, but she's going to be in connection with her partner, she's requiring more reassurances, more support, and more listening to continue to be in that position, to trust her partner, that she won't get hurt, that he won't step on or run her into something. And so these are things that show up in the relationship as you lead your wife. You may want to, take you as a couple in a certain direction, and she may require, listening, some more support, some more reassurance for you to move a little bit slower so that she can move in step with you. So all of these things show up, and trust is the single fundamental value that is required for the dance to work.
So how do you do you do anything like within, teaching the tango, but do you do any other like activities to help with that? Or is it just straight dance? Let's just figure that out. Cause I see that it is everything in what you're talking about. If you don't have that, yeah, it's going to be hard to even move forward. But how do you bring that out, so to say, if couples aren't ready to enter that space?
The quickest way to bypass the resistance in their mind is through their body.
Yeah.
And so the dance works so well because 93% of communication is nonverbal. Only 7% of communication is actually the words that you use. So the beautiful thing, and one of the things that I love about this work, is that even couples that are resistant to going to counseling and talking things through, if you give them the exercises and drills that that I know in my work are going to guide them to that realization, sometimes just giving them the drill, especially the resistant people, and allow them to work through the exercise, it shows up in glaring fashion without any interference. And then they get it. When they feel, there's one thing to say, hey, I may hear in a couple, the gentleman might say, hey, she's not letting me lead, or she's not, listening to me or letting me be the leader, or she's when I try to get us to do something new or do something, she's resistant. And I'm like, okay. And then I give them the drill and I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, she's resistant because I'm not providing enough support, or she doesn't understand my lead. And so I need to spend more time or be clearer in my lead or lead in a different way so she understands. And then they go, oh, okay. Gotcha. So when I'm off the dance floor, if she's not following me or she's resistant, it's because perhaps I need to try another way, or maybe she's not understanding my lead and I just need to take my time or restate it or give her time to absorb the lead so that she can execute it with me. And so then they start to kind of come into their own discovery. And then I finish coaching them once they kind of go, is that what you're doing here?
And then, so you say you finished coaching them. When you're talking coaching, is it your relationship coaching that you're doing stuff outside, or is it all dance and then you bring out, these ingredients that come through your dance, like we've been talking about? Do you do both of those things?
Absolutely. There's movement involved.
Yeah.
Touch is the quickest, as you mentioned, with the baby and putting the child on the chest in order to build connection and bonding. It doesn't just stop in childhood. Mm-hmm. That touch, that physical contact releases oxytocin. It creates the bonding mechanism, which you want in an intimate relationship. So doing some sort of movement, whether it's tango, and tango is the easiest, but sometimes I work with very, very large groups or even virtual. I always give them movement exercises because it's the key to the breakthrough.
Love it. And then how vital, I mean, you use the word resistance a whole bunch, and I'm sure that comes out and you also talked about just kind of freely moving your body. And obviously if you have resistance, you're not freely moving your body, and then that's going to come out. And I'm sure when you're working with groups, since you have you've developed an incredible expertise, that immediately you can read everybody's body language and then therefore spot the resistance. So how important, and what would be some signs, even outside of, let me see if I can help you understand. So you see these signs that are coming out as far as body language and therefore the person being resistant. Outside of that dance, are there parallels to body language that the listener can take? All right, well, I'm not on the dance floor, but let me tap into my partner's body language, and for me to realize, okay, I need it, and we'll explore, because I'm very interested in your leading and following. We'll explore that probably next, but I can figure out how to do things better because my partner has shown me through their body language that I'm not doing what works for them, perhaps, so to say. I don't know if you're following me, but can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. Because body language is that, as they let the bodies do the talking. Body language is always a part of your communication. Like I said, 93% of communication is nonverbal, and that includes things like tonality, body position and posture, energetics, meaning what, energy you're emanating or transmitting to your partner, 7% words. And so anytime you're interacting, engaging with anyone, your partner, your children, your employees, a customer, you are communicating with those elements. And so, for example, an easy one, and like we said, we talked about resistance, but when people are on the same page with you, they tend to lean in towards you. This is very common in the dance. So the dance is done chest to chest. The more your partner trusts you in the dance, the more they're willing to literally put their chest against your chest. The more that they're not sure, or they're hesitant, or there's some things that are uncertain, the more they'll pull their body or their chest away from you in the dance. Off the dance floor, you'll see the same thing. When somebody's in agreement with you, when they're aligning, when they're following you, when they're on the same page with you, they will lean in towards you or bring their body more in the direction of you. And some people call it mirroring. When they're not sure, or they're not understanding, or perhaps they take objection to something that you're saying, they pull their energy back. They may cross their arms. They may do something with their body that's a little more closed than open. So you can use that information to either read your partner or to build bonding with your partner by things like they say, like mirroring, or paying attention to the way that they're expressing themselves, and mirroring that, meaning you're giving them affirmation with that way that they're expressing themselves physically.
Yeah, and I'm just writing down all of me again, and it's all of me, that you said, but then it really, in getting into that all of me space, it's so much bigger than you. And I think in getting in all of me allows me to get out of my own way, and then therefore be there to read what's going on with my partner, because I'm 100% invested, and I can then breathe and enter that kind of flow state of being able to take in all this information and apply it in real time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And in some ways, and this is more advanced technique, if you will, all of you is there. Even if you're disconnected, even if you're tense, even if you're frustrated, you in that mental state is still physically showing up to your partner. And so the question is once you come into this acceptance, like I said, you can't fake it. So if I'm distracted, when I get into the embrace, my partner's going to feel that. If I'm frustrated, when I get into the embrace, my partner's going to feel that. They may not be able to articulate it, oh, she's frustrated. Eventually you'll get to a point where you'll be able to read those signals. But, I'm sure every person has either heard or seen when a partner walks into the room and your partner goes, "Hey, babe, is everything okay? Something off?" Because they're reading the information from you that says, hey, something's not aligned with what I'm used to experiencing from them, or something's not aligned in my observation of them, that, I want to get more information to confirm so that I can assist and support.
It's huge, and it's fascinating. Again, just all the parallels that come through that. And you've talked about leading and following a whole bunch, and I think there's just so much to explore there. I have no idea how that works within what you do, but let's try and make sense of it a little bit for the listeners of those two roles.
Yes. Well, you said essential ingredients. So my first ingredient is relationships are the core to life. All relationships, not just your partners, but customers, strangers, your neighbor, plants, animals. So relationship is the core to life. That's life's ingredient, essential ingredient number one. Life's ingredient essential ingredient too, especially if you're in a partnership, is there is no leader without a follower. So leading and following are interdependent components of the same equation of partnership. They're not hierarchical in nature. They are equal and interdependent, and both are required for the dance to work, and both are required for the relationship to work. And so to lead means to guide along a certain path, literally, and to follow means to move along a certain path at their basic level. And so when you think about that in terms of your relationship, even though you might be in the quote unquote role of leading, meaning you're initiating, you're guiding, it requires the permission and cooperation of the follower for your leadership to be made manifest or to show up in the world. Just like in a business, there is no business if there are no customers. There is no business without customers and shareholders and supporters. There is no leader without a follower in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So it requires collaboration and cooperation. And when you understand that, there's this flow of energy that goes between either the couple or the parties that creates the success and the harmony and the manifestation of the vision, whether that's a great relationship, whether that's a great business. When those two come to work together in concert, they create something beautiful.
I couldn't take enough notes right there. You said I was trying to write as fast as I could.
You can listen again.
Yeah, I might have to listen back on this one. I just love there is no leader without a follower.
Yes, there is no leader without a follower, especially for my leaders, because you talked about your work is in leadership. So I know you work with leadership. You get them to work in their hands. They're taking all these ingredients and putting that any one ingredient might be good alone. But when you put them together, it's like magic in the mouth. I love pizza, so don't get me started. They come together to create this beautiful dish. And you have, people that are in the kitchen working together to make it all happen. The same thing in our work. It's totally different environment, but same thing in our work.
No, it's beautiful. And then I think it's a good segue is giving and receiving like feedback. Again, and obviously apply it to your tango, but you've been talking about it indirectly the whole time, that we've been having this beautiful discussion. But I guess, more specifically, how do you guide your clients, the people that you're teaching to give and receive, feedback in real time, and more so, I guess the music kind of dictates the tempo. I think so often in life you give and receive feedback, and if it's not done carefully, the person's going to very quickly get out of rhythm of life. Whether your words were too harsh, not clear. But yeah, I'm sure you have some great insight just on giving and receiving feedback through your dance that therefore is applied to life.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get into a very specific one. So hopefully this is one of these good takeaways that your listeners will have. This is something that I hear when I'm dealing with couples frequently enough. And it's the idea of nagging. And so some partners may say, hey, my partner nags. Oftentimes it's the leader in the relationship. It's like, hey, she's, constantly saying something or repeating it or whatever have you. Well, when we get on the dance floor, the couple is not only having to make sure that they're safe, like the leader has to make sure to keep his partner safe, and then the couple, but then the couple has to move amongst other couples. And so not only the leader realizes, not only do I have to keep my partner safe from me, meaning I don't want to step on her, I don't want to hurt her or anything like that, but then I have to lead us as a couple amongst all these other couples, these unknowns, safely. And the way that I'm able to do that is every step, my partner is literally giving me feedback on my leadership. So when you lead a step as a leader, you want to make sure that it's successful, that it's what you intended. And then you use that information to lead the next step. So that's literally real time. Every single step, you're getting feedback to make sure that what you're doing is what you intended and that it's still safe in the environment. Why that is so powerful is then you realize very quickly that you must get lead feedback from your partner constantly, every single step, so that you can make sure that you're doing what you intended, that you can move you all safely through the space, and not only for yourself, but so that everyone else in the space is safe. And so it becomes this idea of nagging, for example, takes on a different, by the end of the class, the whole framework around nagging completely changes, because it's like, yeah, I need real time feedback, because when it's critical, like I'm thinking, why is she giving me feedback all the time? It's like, oh, that's her role. Her role is literally to give me feedback, to make sure that she can reflect back to me that I am leading what I intended, that my leadership is clear, that it is intentional, and most important, it's safe for us and the community.
So much cool stuff. And I'm changing your all of me to all of we. And because I just keep hearing that yeah, it's just about us. It's about, reading each other and just getting in tune and constantly giving that feedback and giving each other what they need. And I love how you said to feel safe. And I think if we can create that, man, the world is such a great place, and without that safety, I won't get too long-winded here because I could go off on it, but there's just, then you don't have any trust and you don't have any rhythm. I mean, just everything goes out the window, and it kind of leads you, I'm definitely an optimist, but it leads you to where we are a little bit as a country, yeah, but we won't get lost with all that stuff. But let's get into your book. Yeah, tell the listeners about that and where they can get it. And congrats on that, first of all. Yeah.
Thank you. It's 2 now. One came out in May, the second one in July. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they're both on Amazon, and they reflect the things that we've been talking about now. And I know you didn't want to get too crazy into kind of the community orientation of the work that we do. But I think it's important, because when we realize that we have different roles in the dance, that they are very, very different, but essential to making it work, then we have more compassion, and we understand that the other part is needed in order for this to work. You have two dancers that are facing in 2 totally different directions, having to work in concert. You got one partner walking forward and the other partner walking backwards. There is no clearer reflection of the dichotomy that can exist in the world than that. And so we as a community and as a country and as a world can realize very quickly, like, wait a second. Yes, everybody doesn't have to be walking forward. In this dance, somebody's walking backwards, and their perspective is just as valuable and completely different from mine, and that's okay. But both sides are needed for it to work, just like right brain and left brain. Both sides are needed to work. So this work, the first book is It Takes Two to Tango, and it's the 22 steps that you need to create a successful partnership. And so it literally gives you a high level view of kind of the key principles that we use in our work to get couples in step. And we walk them through the process, and we do it at a very high level. And then the other one is So You Think You Can't Dance, which I mentioned earlier. Which is to address your fears that get in the way from you doing the It Takes Two to Tango work.
Yeah.
Congratulations. They're both on Amazon.
Yeah. All right, listeners, I'm sure you go check those out. And I'm sure, does your website have links? I went to your site, but does it have links to the book?
It's not yet. It's in flux. But if they go directly to Amazon, it'll have all the information.
Okay. Man, well, I kind of feel like we're in a good spot to transition out and end the episode. And it's been so fun. I want to end with one last quote from John Alston, the only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind. And I told you, my profession was a nurse, and fortunately for me, I've been at the bedside very often with patients and families getting ready to take their last breath and go home. And I want to fast forward 50 years for you, at least. And you're on your bed getting ready to go home, and you're surrounded by all the people that have been essential in your life. What is it that you want to leave behind with them as you get ready to take your last breath?
Well, number one, thank you for your service and being of service to so many people. It's a thankless job, and my mother is a nurse. So thank you so much for all that you've done and continue to do. You continue to nurse people. This work, living it every day. So by that time, I'm hoping that I will have lived my life every day in a way to create the best relationships possible, conversation by conversation, step by step, and that those who will continue to be here will continue to let that love and that work radiate out to the world by their very being. By that time, I want people to be living it and transforming the world one interaction at a time. As you said, this podcast, if it can just transform one person's life, you don't know who that person could be. And so that's my goal, is that we get to a point where we understand that we are changing the world one conversation, one dance, one interaction at a time. And we can literally change the world that way.
That's beautiful. I often say, yeah, we're trying to change the world one slice at a time. Again, listeners, we've been on with Linda Sutton.com. Go to her site, and then also the 2to Tango.com. And I'm going to say that one again, the 22tangoshow.com. Sorry, Linda, I don't know the best way I want to make sure they go to that. And again, go to Amazon. Again, Linda D. Sutton, just look her up that way. She's got her 2 books there. Support her in her work. And man, what a treat for me to just listen in, take some great notes, and spend time with you. And thank you so much for all that you've given me this episode. And I know the listeners are going to take a bunch from this show. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the dance.
Yeah. All right, listeners. Hey, normally my Pasho gets us out, but boom, baby, that just happened. We out.